Hey, hi, hobby vlog, day 92. Today, we're gonna open up the Dolmenwood Players Handbook. I'm gonna run you through the races and the classes so you can see them all. And then I'm gonna build out one of the characters that we made last night. There's probably gonna be a midnight upload, so I don't think I'll be able to do all of the party, but we're at least gonna get one in tonight, and I'm gonna show you the book finally. Wood Players map. This is the cloth version. It's very vibrant. I hope I'm doing a good job at capturing it. The colors on this are awesome. It's thicker than I thought it was in the unboxing. Now that I finally have it out here, this thing is awesome. It's beautiful. So I printed off some official sheets. I think in retrospect, I would have liked to have printed these smaller just because I kind of like a booklet style. And I think I'll probably in the future be binding my own character booklets. I can just see that coming, especially as time goes on. But there's two pretty cool sheets. I love the art and the margins. Those are our sheets. I'm going to be using Dolmenwood Players Book. Let me make sure I've got you in frame. I didn't realize how terrible my camera angle was last night, but I have a new setup right now. I built one out earlier today. I want to make sure we're good. Hey, how about that? I think we're in there. How do we look? Okay, so Dolmenwood Players Book. Beautiful, amazing, lovely art. If you don't know anything about Dolmenwood, let me tell you, everything you ever heard about the wood is true, and everything you ever heard is false. Dreams and fairies walk between standing stones and dancing trees, slipping in and out of the mortal world as easily as you or I slip through an open door. It's pretty though, dare I say, beautiful even. All manner of enchantment lingers beneath its boughs. It'll capture your heart if ye let it. And that sounds as lovely as a song until you realize the wood'll never ever give it back without paying the proper cost. Ogham Tweed, bartender. So Dolmenwood is very heavily inspired. This is kind of like the appendix N for Dolmenwood right here. I'm not going to read everything to you, but things like the Fellowship of the Ring, the Goblin Market, Gormenghast, Jonathan Strange, and Mr. Norrell, The King of Elfland's Daughter, one of the classics. Any other cool ones film-wise? The Green Knight. I'm going to need to watch that. I haven't seen that. Princess Mononoke, Legend, Labyrinth, Spirited Away, the original Wicker Man, I believe. Also, Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, the television show. Over the Garden Wall, such an awesome show. And Twin Peaks. There's a little bit of intrigue and mystery and horror mixed in. So here we go. The journey begins. It's from Gavin Norman. This is essentially a rule set built upon OSE, which is built upon old school Dungeons and Dragons. At this point, it's kind of a mix of the early editions, a little mix of beginner and expert, and I think maybe even a little bit of advanced creeping in at this point. So there's also the campaign book, the monster book, and adventure scenarios. And also, I got the character sheets for free from dolmenwood.com. We're going to get into it. We'll make our character. We've already rolled our stats last video. Actually, we rolled our stats on our very first unboxing video. So we're going to roll up our cleric. The only thing weird is his kindred is going to be a dwarf, just because he's a character that I love and I've been wanting to play that figure. But I'll still show you all the races and walk you through them. So, folk and factions. There's Breggles. These are goat men, goat women, goat people. They are not like the beasts of chaos that you may be familiar with. They've divided themselves into two castes distinguished by the lengths of their horns: aristocratic longhorns and commoner shorthorns. Mosslings. These are little hobbits, gnome people, part mortal flesh and part plant or fungus. Very cool. There's fairies and demi-fae. I think those speak for themselves. And then there's also other sentient beings and also other playable races. So there's a ton of factions. Dolmenwood is extremely fleshed out in terms of the game world. I don't want to read all of these to you, but just know that when this is not like a simple rule book. This is a whole campaign system. This is a whole living world hex map style that you're dropping into. And in my opinion, this will be what role-playing games are compared to going forward. This is setting the new bar of what a tabletop role-playing game is, what the world building is, what supplements are. This is truly a magnum opus, truly a masterpiece, truly a great work. So again, different factions, different areas. Starting play. You start, it comes with a basic play example. I always like in rulebooks when they actually give you an idea of like what it looks like. They don't take for granted that you're already playing games like this and you just purchase this. I think that's really cool. I'm going to try to edit out all my Snuffles fighting a stuffy nose again. All the glossary, again, if you're familiar with role-playing games, you probably know this stuff, but it's really cool to have this all up front. The pages are tabbed on the side so you can see it. There's very solid, I was going to say thick and solid at the same time. Very, very good ribbon bookmark. Any of these boxes are call outs for the rules. This here, it walks you through the actual rules of playing the game. If you've played OSE, you know the rules. There's experience points, there's prime abilities, there's hit points. I haven't actually rolled hit points yet. There's damage, healing, gaining levels. This uses, I think this uses ascending armor class. Like I said, I've done my best to not spoil it, but I should probably know that one. We'll find out once we start building. And again, this explains what all the attributes and all of the secondary attributes do. Here's an example of monster statistics. Anytime you see one of these boxes, you know that's just going to be something helpful. All right, here we go. Creating a character. So roll ability scores. Some of our characters were subpar, but we're gonna let them ride. One of them we fixed already because he was just so bad. But we've had to fix his intellect. And I even feel bad about that. I almost didn't do it, but I love that figure. I've had that figure for 20 years. He's not going to be a simpleton. So we cheated for him, but that's how it goes. All right, we rolled ability scores. 3d6 in turn, strength, intelligence, wisdom, dexterity, constitution, and charisma. Oh, that's what we did. We went 3d6 down the line because we're not cowards. Choose a kindred. We've already chosen those. So there are some class restrictions here. Elves, Grimalkins, Woodgrues cannot be clerics or friars because they have no spiritual connection to the deities of mortals. There's a very well thought out religion, spirituality system in this game. I do know that. So next we'll choose our class. I should probably grab a pencil. All right, I'm not usually a pencil guy, but when I am, a Graph Gear 500 is one of my favorites. So here we go, back in it, using our handy dandy notebook. So I'm gonna fill out our name. This is Thoric Duskworn. I guess I should move it to you. Don't really care about my character sheet. You probably care about the book more. So Thoric Duskworn. And dwarves are not in Dolmenwood, so it's going to be very interesting people's reaction to seeing him in the game world. He is going to be a dwarf cleric, but we'll wait till we get there. So then we adjust ability scores. You can lower non-prime ability scores for every 2 points by which an ability score is lowered. 1 point can be added to a prime ability. I did not know that, so that's cool. That makes me feel better about being a little cheaty McCheater face. So instead of, we know that we rolled a 4 intelligence for our soon-to-be ranger, so I will make that up by subtracting some stats elsewhere for sure. So there's ability modifiers, there's kindred and class traits. You record all of those. You record languages, skill and save targets. Here's a summary of classes. This is probably what you're looking for. Bards and bard. Prime ability is charisma and dexterity. 1d6 hit points. He is semi-martial combat aptitude. I really like how instead of saying specific weapons they can or can't use, it's this group. So you're martial, non-martial, semi-martial. Very cool. Main class capabilities. I love this chart. You can just look in and see what it does. So the bard has counter charm, enchantment, decipher script, folklore. A cleric gets holy magic from level 2 onward. A holy order can turn undead. Enchanters have glamours, fairy runes, which are very powerful. Detect magic, use arcane items. The fighter gets really cool combat talents. It's really expanded upon just a dude who swings his weapons around. The Friar has herbalism. There is a very robust like herb and fungus and like alchemical system to this. I believe that's one of the main pulls for me personally They also learn holy magic. They learn turn undead. They're non-martial. There's the hunter. He gets the animal companion, alertness, tracking, missile attacks. The knight, horsemanship, monster slayer, strength of will. The magician, arcane magic, detect magic, and this is an actually useful thief class with the backstab, climbing, disarming traps, picking locks. Oh, and decipher script. I almost missed that one. So for hit points, you have a minimum of 1, regardless of your constitution, but you determine it by rolling your hit point die and then adding your constitution modifier. There's an optional rule of re-rolling 1s or 2s. I'm not going to do that. We're going to take what we're given because that's how we like it. So one thing that I do think is really cool about this is you roll your equipment. So everybody kind of gets common clothes, a backpack containing rations, a water skin, a tinderbox, a belt pouch, getting 3d6 gold pieces. The class items are determined on a class by class basis. And then there's some adventuring items where you can either pick from this list here or you can roll them. It's not like a super min-maxy buying kind of thing. It's like set kits with a little bit of customization, which I like because I'm somebody who could spend all day trying to figure out what I'm going to buy, what I'm going to kit out. I like this because it limits me in meaningful ways, but also has that customization. There is an optional rule if you want to actually do that thing. Each character gets 3d6 times 10 gold pieces to purchase armor, weapons, and equipment. So you don't have to take the kits if you don't want to go that route, which is also very cool. Armor class. This is the question that I could not remember. Your character's armor is determined by armor class, or your character's armor class is determined by their armor plus the... Let me start this over. I can't talk. It's getting late, guys. I'm sorry. Your character's armor class is determined by their armor plus their dexterity modifier. Some kindreds and classes also grant a bonus to AC. Unarmored AC, if your character has no armor, their AC is 10 plus dexterity modifier. Speed, alignment. I thought that was going to tell us if we were Thaco or not. Note on level and XP. Name and details. There we go. All right, we've rolled. It shows an example of actually making a character, which is great. Just walking through. It's always good to see real examples, especially if you don't really know what's going on. There's some ability scores. So I'm going to write down any modifiers we have. So our strength on this guy is 11. So that's a no modifier. Intelligence of 7 is -1. He's a little dopey too. His wisdom is 17. So that's +2. His dexterity is +1. His constitution is 14, so +1. His charisma is 6, so he's -1 there. I think maybe we'll drop his dexterity down 2 to get his intelligence up to 9. Actually, no, we'll leave him how he is. I don't want to do that too much. I'm resisting the urge to min-max. He's got 7 intelligence. A little bit dopey. All right, ability checks. Prime abilities. These kind of work if your prime ability is higher, you get XP modifiers, which I think is pretty cool. And I need to know, do I need to write that down in my sheet somewhere? Oh, yes, I do. When we get to the classes, I'll record that. This is an explanation of all the stats here. Won't get into those. And also, I think most of this part, I think the Dolmenwood Getting Started guide is free. Okay, yeah. So there is, if you go to Dolmenwood or necroticgnome.com, there is a welcome document called Welcome to Dolmenwood, which I think does cover a lot of the character creation. And again, I'm not going to read everything. So here we start off with Regals. Or no, actually, this is languages. So all the different languages. All right, here we go. The kindreds. So there is a couple of things. There is mortality. There's aging. There's a calendar system to this game that is very important and plays a rather large role. There's no innate magic except for a few individuals gifted with sensitivity. Mortal kindreds have no innate magic, and the majority of mortal folk are mistrustful of magic. Religion and worldview is rather large. The mindset, they're governed by the laws of times and nature. Mortals tend to be social, banding together for safety and cooperation. Towns and villages of mortal folk in Dolmenwood act as a respite from the dangers of the wild. So there's fairy classes. They are innately magic. There's otherworldliness. They have their own religions, their own mindsets. There's the demi-fae. don't want to spill all the sauce here. So we're just going to get right into the classes. So Breggle, these are the goat people. They have their own religion. They normally adhere to the Pluralitine Church, which is the main religious body in Dolmenwood. They have class suggestions. They're most commonly fighters, knights, or magicians, and they seldom seek membership of the Pluralitine Church as clerics or friars, and only rare individuals have enough of a connection with the fairy to become enchanters. So there's this information about how they'll look, advancement, there's name generators, there's backgrounds, trinkets. You can even generate a character's appearance in these tables, which is very cool. So the elf, we're going to run an elf ourselves. They appear human-like, but otherworldly. I like that. Names, details. Elves are commonly enchanters, fighters, hunters, or magicians. It's rare for an elf to be accepted into the Dolmenwood nobility as a knight. Elves cannot be clerics or friars. Here's all the same thing. Backgrounds, appearance generators. Grimalkin, the little cats. I think it's cool in that there's different appearances, just like how the Breggles are. There's cunning humanoid forms. A Grimalkin's normal form is that of a humanoid cat, wearing clothing, speaking, and walking upright. It is by all appearances a humanoid cat, beautiful or ugly, with fur covering their little body. They also have a fat Magi form called the Chester. In Chester, a Grimalkin resembles a normal cat, though perhaps fatter than the average mouser. A Grimalkin in Chester can understand language, but can only respond in wordless yowls and meows. They're shapeshifters. I missed that part at the beginning. So I believe they can choose between these forms as part of their rules. And then there's a Fey Predator form. A Grimalkin is in Wilder, that's the name of this form, is difficult to perceive clearly in the mortal world, as more than a gleaming pair of deranged predatory eyes beyond the throw of the lantern's light. Very cool. Very Alice in Wonderland vibes. So shape-shifting, they can go into Chester, unlimited usage, but they can only pop into Wilder once a day. Very cool. It's going to be fun to paint up those kind of effects. And here's a good representation of the three of them. The one hiding in the bushes. This one's spinning his pocket watch. Definitely going to be doing some more with them in the future. Humans. Humans are humans. Wandering elves occasionally tryst with humans. Our elf character's name is Tryst. It's funny. Spelled differently, though, of course. But still, so cool. Here's our human tables. Now, Mosslings. I love Mosslings. I have Mosslings queued up in the true straight to Dolmenwood party that we do after this party. I love these guys. Very interested and intrigued by the Mosslings. Love this guy. I think he's the Dolemwood figure that you get. Woodgrues. I love these guys too. I have not a bunch, but I have some Woodgrues 3D printed. Do they have a different? Yeah, I have this specific guy 3D printed at that exact pose. So they are capricious bat-faced goblins. Very cool. I forgot to read you guys the classes. Don't worry, I'm still trying to learn how to be a good YouTuber. I did humans. Grimalkin adventurers are commonly bards, enchanters, hunters, or thieves. It's rare for them to be accepted into nobility as a knight, and they cannot be clerics or friars. Humans are commonly found in all classes except enchanters. Rare is a human with enough connection to fairy to become an enchanter. The Mosslings are commonly fighters and hunters, and they're only occasionally accepted into the nobility as knights, and they seldom seek membership of the Pluralitine Church and rarely possess enough connection to fairy to become enchanters. They have their own kind of magic, which is called knacks and Mossling skills. Very cool. Woodgrues are commonly bards, magicians, or thieves. Rare to be a knight. Cannot be clerics or friars. There's definitely a theme running there. And of course, all those are, if you don't want to follow that, you don't have to. Okay, here we go. This is what we've been looking for. The bard has a lot of cool skills. And again, I don't want to spoil everything. I don't want to give it all away. Definitely go buy Dolmenwood. It's awesome. But here we go. Here's the cleric. So their prime ability is wisdom. So I'm just gonna put a little star there. His hit points is 1d6 per level. So let's roll those hit points. I'll use our Dolemwood dice for this part. But if you watched our other video, you definitely could roll one of his planetary influences that we established, which I will mark on his character sheet a little bit later. Okay, so let me fill my scores in. I didn't actually write them on the sheet. 11, 0, 7, -1, wisdom 17, dexterity 13, constitution is 14, and charisma is 6. All right, so we're rolling this constitution bonus with a +1. Let's actually use a dice tray this time. Here we go. And it rolls out, but I'll take a 5. So our hit points, we have 6 HP. Max HP is 6. That's a good roll. Maybe he'll be our tank because we know we're going to need it based on everybody else's stats. So next, his armor, any including shields except arcane or fairy magic, and weapons, any except arcane. That's another thing I like because our figure is modeled with a sword and shield, which is sometimes a hard combination for a cleric to have. So as servants of the church, they must be lawful or neutral. He's going to come in neutral because, again, he's not from Dolmenwood proper, and maybe he's going to have to be initiated into the ways of Dolmenwood because right now he's kind of an apostate. He's turned his back on the gods of his land, and he's walking around really trying to find the power within himself, and he doesn't really know what he's doing. So maybe he comes into Dolmenwood and he learns about the powers and the deities here. All right, alignment. Falling from grace. They must be faithful to tenets of their order. A cleric who transgresses or becomes chaotic falls from grace and loses the ability to pray for spells. Only mortals are trained as clerics. Magical armaments. Clerics are forbidden to use magic weapons, armors, and shields of arcane or fairy origin. They may only use holy magic armaments. Very cool, flavorful. So this is the equipment things I was talking about. Because we can roll 1d6, but we already know he's going to have chainmail and shield. We don't want to cheat it too hard, but that's just what the figure is modeled with. So he has chainmail and shield, which we'll write down. And then he has a long sword as well. And he has a holy symbol. So he can detect magic items. We'll fill all this out on the sheet. I won't make you guys watch me do all that part. Holy magic. I don't think he gets holy magic on level 1. Yeah, spellcasting once he's proven their devotion, which happens on level 2. So as these, we're gonna try to still follow as much of Dolmenwood lore as we can. So he's not gonna walk into Dolmenwood with spells. He won't get them until level 2. So we're gonna have to play through that first adventure to get anything. Holy Order, again, we'll pick the Holy Order upon reaching level 2. It's almost like it was meant for us to have a dwarf not from Dolmenwood so we can get him in there before we have to make all these decisions. And I wonder what he's going to run into to help him do that. There is Turning Undead. There's different advancement tables per class. Right now, our prime requisite is Wisdom. So now we can turn back into the character advancement table back here. Prime XP, our score is a 17 in Wisdom, so we're actually going to get a plus 10% ability. All right, experience modifier. So he's currently level 1. His modifier is 10%, and he needs 1,500 XP to get to the next level. That part I will write down. Current XP is 0. And that's it. That's his. All the classes just are one page spread, and then all of the spells are, so the holy spells are on page 100, the back of the book. I'll show you a couple of them. I don't want to just give it all away. I think you're getting a pretty good idea of what you're in for. There's clerical tenets that you'll have to pick once we get to that point. The evangelism, hierarchy, monotheism, sanctity of life. I think he's probably going to go sanctity of life just because just the other stuff he doesn't really vibe with. The enchanter, they use fairy runes to cast. That's kind of the form of magic here. Fighters, the cool thing, they get these combat talents. So Battle Rage, Cleave, Defender, Last Stand. They get them at 2, 6, 10, and 14. You can roll or choose. There's 8 different ones. Very awesome art. It's funny how like the fighter is kind of pared down rules wise. So he gets this big 2-page or 2.5 or 1.5 page spread of art. The Friar, very cool. I love this art. This guy is also one of the Dolmenwood figures you get. Holy Magic and Herbalism. The Hunter. Hunter gets an animal companion. He gets missile attacks. There's trophies. There's wayfinding, tracking. The Knight, he lives up to a chivalric code. There's horsemanship. There's knighthood. There's different houses that you'll need to be pledged to. This is way more than just a guy in armor. There's a lot of flavor, a lot of story here. The Magician. So the Magician is a little bit different than the Enchanter, and where the Enchanter uses those rune, which are kind of items. They're much more powerful from what I've understood of the game than some of the spells are. But this is your traditional magician who's going to have access to arcane magic. Then the Thief. The Thief has different skills. And I think there's also common skills across all characters. So there's listen, search, and survival skills that all characters have. And it's that the D6 target. So a skill begins at 6. And then I believe you try to roll under what your skill is, or you have to roll over what your skill is to be successful. If I remember correctly. Yeah, those are skill targets. So you got to hit your target to roll over. So here's the magic. Again, I'll briefly look through some of the magic so you can get an idea of the type of magic that you have, but I don't want to get too into the weeds. So there's ranks instead of levels, which I think is cool. This makes it easier. Some example spells in rank 1 are Fairy Servant, Firelight, Ignite, Extinguish, Vapors of a Dream, Ventriloquism. Then in rank 2, there's Dwemer Light, Perceive the Invisible. I'm trying to see if I can find any. A lot of spells are named like in lore titles. So, and here's the actual spells and what they're going to do. Let's flip through these. I wanted to get to the holy spells because I think it's here where there's associated saints and there's a name of prayer. So it's not just like I cast Detect Evil. It's I will say that St. Wittery's Vision. All the spells have prayer names for the holy magic. So I just think that's really cool. It's very flavorful to like actually have the benediction that you're doing, and it's not just lightning bolt, lightning bolt, lightning bolt. So here's all the spell descriptions. And then after we move from spell descriptions, it's the equipment, services, and animals. Very cool. Lots of cool stuff in here to dig through. And I think after I make all my characters, I'll come back in. There's lodging and food. There's fungi and herbs. There's tobacco. I think it's called maybe something different from tobacco. There's this whole aspect. Yeah, there's alchemy. There's animal trainers. There's specialist services, retainers, going out and actually adventuring. There's more examples of play. There's more examples of prep. Encumbrance is a important one. It uses slot encumbrance, but it also has rules for weight encumbrance. I personally really like slot. I don't want to have to mess around with weight. Lamentations of the Flame Princess really made me a huge fan of slot encumbrance. I guess I need to figure out, look at the rules enough to see. And there's camping rules, religion. There's a bunch of religion. All right, huge thanks to the patron backers. I almost forgot. So if you do want to just run the races as classes, they're in the very back here, which is cool. I like to have races and classes separate, but there's also a description of the noble houses. So I think this is a pretty good. Oh, here's an example of combat. Let's see of the elf knight stat block. They have an armor class of 17. The knight attempts to parry, but is taken aback, and you slam into his side. Okay, so it is ascending armor class. answers that question. All right. There we go. Thank you for watching. This is probably a long one, but if you're interested in Dolmenwood, I think that's a pretty good glimpse into it. As we play, I don't plan on doing flip throughs of the campaign book or the monster book. You'll see those as I'm playing through the game. I don't want to spoil that for myself. But again, thank you for being here. Thanks for being awesome. Thank you guys for the support. I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to edit it, get it published, and I'll see you tomorrow.